Mr Crowley, thanks very much for speaking to our audience this evening.
My pleasure, Lee.
Can I just ask, first of all, as a school principal, what did you think when you saw that Four Corners program?
Obviously, as a principal, one of the most important things is the safety and care of students. And as a principal, I really felt for those two boys, Paris and Ned, particularly around the fact that their voice was lost, the fact that they weren't listened to, and that broke my heart.
Did you think that this school leadership failed them?
The leadership certainly made some very serious mistakes, and we need to be prepared to acknowledge that. We need to be sorry for that, and we need to celebrate the incredible courage that those boys have shown. And I had the great pleasure of speaking to the Year 11 and 12 students last week, and I indicated to that cohort how proud they should be of both Paris and Ned for shining a light on silence, for being prepared to speak the truth, and for being witnesses to honesty.
From what we've heard from Paris Street and also the allegations made in the federal court that the school may have discouraged mandatory reporting of questionable behaviour because it was disloyal, would it be fair for a reasonable person to assume that at times St Kevin's has been more concerned about its reputation than the well-being of every student?
Well, look, I mean, the gravity of the mistake made speaks for itself. What is clear is that as a school community, we need to respond to that. We need to take up the mandate that's been given to us through the courage of both Paris and Ned, and make sure that all of our students understand that it's critical for them to speak should they feel that something is not right. And as their leaders, we must not let them down. We must respond accordingly and walk with them on the journey.
Several more teachers have been stood down at St Kevin's. The question that some parents might have, that I'm sure they'd be feeling very rattled, is how far does the rot go?
Oh, look, my first impression, Lee, I've been here 3 days. We have an incredibly vibrant community. We have incredibly dedicated staff. Our parents are so committed to the school, and I have been so impressed with the students and the manner in which they have welcomed me into their community. Now, I understand that with the announcement that 3 staff have concluded their employment, there will be questions about that. What I would say is this, that I hope that people will understand that there's an integrity of process with regards to any matter involving child safety, and I need to be clear that it's not appropriate for me to talk about those matters. And what I think it's absolutely critical for me to reassure parents in our community is that when there is the need for me to investigate matters around child safety, as I have always done and always will, that I will do so in a way that involves all of the relevant bodies, including police, including the Commission for Young People, to make sure that in the end, the only thing that matters is the care of the students.
You mentioned the grave mistakes that have been made. Should the current school board or management committee resign, given that they either knew of these matters and didn't intervene, or they weren't aware of them, in which case it raises the suggestion they weren't doing their jobs properly?
Lee, I've been in the school 3 days. I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on something that I have no knowledge of.
Viewers will be familiar with the video of St Kevin's students on public transport making the offensive chant about women. Do you think that there's a broader cultural problem at the school with this kind of hyper masculinity?
I spoke to the boys about that very honestly, and I said to them that community perception is that we have fallen below the standards that the community will accept, and we need to respond to that openly and honestly and with integrity as a student cohort led by the staff to address those areas that have let us down by some students. I think it's really important to stress that when you work with young people, when you work with young students, that we are in the business of education, and we need to work with those students in terms of helping them to understand the issues that are at play and helping them to learn how to respond differently when they're in that situation again. And I don't stand back from that responsibility to engage in some fairly hard conversations with the students around what is appropriate behaviour, what does respectful behaviour look like to all people, but particularly women, and to engage them in that conversation very honestly.
John Crowley, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thanks, Lee.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.